Yo, back with another one. So, as you're looking at the screen now, you're probably looking like, okay, man, he's got all these different devices here. It probably looks complex. Yeah, it's possible. You probably looking like, well, how many networks is it? Well, it depends on how you configure it, right? You can have several different networks, subnets, stuff like that, depending on what your objective is and what your goal is. But we're gonna set this up here. As far as cable connections go, we're gonna set this up as if auto MDX is disabled. If it was enabled, it wouldn't matter. It would just be to automatically be able to read and see what type of connection it needs to have. So let's jump right in. So we're going to be using three different types of connections today. We're going to be we're going to be using a copper straight through cable, a copper crossover cable, and a fiber. There's two different types of fiber. There's single mode and multi-mode, and we're going to be using both of those of one instance in this video. So first, we're going to start with a straight through cable. Connect this PC to this switch, and this PC to this switch. And we can use straight through cables because these are connecting to two different devices. But once we get up here to the switches, a switch cannot connect to a switch using a straight through cable, especially with auto MDIX. They won't be able to communicate. So that's where the crossover cable comes in at, and that's what we're going to use. So connect that, and do the same thing on this side. And we're going to also connect, because it says switch 1 and switch 2. So if you can see, these devices are on both left and right side. They're going from switch, 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 or switch, switch, PC, switch, switch, PC. We're also going to connect this switch to this other switch so they can communicate. Then we go back to the straight through cable, connect this switch to this router here. It's actually kind of like a game if you think about it, because you're basically entangling the cables based off, the ability to communicate. You obviously have to know which cable to use, but it's kind of like tic-tac-toe, straight through cable, crossover, straight through, crossover, straight through, crossover, if that makes sense. Yep. Okay, so now we up here with router 1 and 3. So router 1 is here on the left side, router 3 is way over here. It says it has a distance of 3 kilometers. So we're going to go ahead and use that single mode. That single mode has a longer distance capacity than multi-mode does, even though it's more expensive. But for the purpose of this lab, single mode is needed due to the distance. So we're going to use a fiber single mode to connect this router over here, router 1 to 3. And we're going to connect it using gigabit Ethernet. And over here we have router 3 and 4 that needs to be connected. And it says 250 meters distance. We're going to use multi-mode for that due to the distance. And then when we get over here, router switch, that's going to be straight through again, because it's two different devices. Then straight through again. And then down here, when we're connecting switch to switch, switch 5 to 6, we're going to use a crossover cable. And then switch to switch, more crossover cables. Yep. Crossover cable again from this switch to this switch so they can communicate. And since we're, for these last devices over here in the bottom row, we're going from switch to PC and switch to server, so we can use a straight through cable because there are two different devices that's being connected. So, click the wrong thing. Yep. And then one more straight through cable. So we got all these devices connected now. So routers, firewalls, and PCs, they transmit data on pins 1 and 2 and receive data on pins 3 and 6. The switch is the opposite. It transmits data on pins 3 and 6 and receives data on 1 and 2. That's it for this video. Catch me in the next one.